What's up, guys? So, just wanted to come on here and talk real quick about how important programming is. So, a lot of times people are always looking for what is the most optimal programming, but they don't ask what is the most optimal programming for me. And this comes into play in a lot of different things, right? So, if you're a busy professional, someone who, their times are split between a lot of different things. You got kids. Sometimes the things that are going to be most optimal for, muscle growth or certain things is just not going to be realistic, right? And then, 3 weeks in, you're doing, 5 days a week, right? Or you're doing your push-pull legs, push-pull legs is 6 days a week. And you realize, I'm just not going to stick with this because it's too much of a time investment. So what kind of things should you think about to set up optimal programming? Well, let's get into it. So number one, I would 100% recommend looking at what your time frame would look like. Figure out, okay, this is the time slot that my training would fit. This is the time frame that it needs to take and fill, and then work from there. So for me, for example, I used to be a big, I was in college wrestling. I was working out 4 or 5 times, on top of my wrestling practices. It was easy with just classes. Even when I was working full time outside of it, it was easy because I was taking, 4 classes, and then I would wrestle in the morning, go lift, then go to classes for the afternoon, go home and work, right? But now that I am working, running a gym, the biggest thing for me is actually going to be my time. So I'm still doing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, 3 to 5 days a week, depending on the week, and lifting at least 3 times a week. Those are my non-negotiables, minimum 3 times of each, right? So that's another thing that you can focus on. What is your non-negotiable, lower limit? And for a lot of people, this should be 2 times a week. You're going to still see some benefits, especially if you make sure the programming that you're doing makes sense for those 2 days. And for the gym I run, that's why we do a lot of full body programming. I do full body programming. I find I get really, really great results for an hour workout that, you're splitting the volume up amongst 3 workouts instead of trying to hit it all in one go. And I find this really benefits people because if I can do, let's say I'm doing my front squat day, right? If I do front squats and then I do my split squats that I do on my bench day, but if I did them on the same day, the split squats would suffer. And there's no way I'm hitting my sets of 5 with 350 plus, right? Versus I do my front squats and then I do a hinge, press, pull, core, and then my cardio. And the front squat is the main compound. Then next on Wednesday, it'll be my bench is my main compound. And then I can still hit pretty heavy split squats because my legs are both recovered and because I'm not taking away from it with my first set of lower body, right? So now that is what I would say is ideal for most people that are very busy. For most optimal muscle growth, it has been shown to be in that 3 to 4 times a week range. Typically for most people, 3 full body or 2 upper, 2 lowers are going to be your best bets. The push-pull legs isn't a bad workout at all. And a lot of people, if the gym is your spot that you really like to go to, 6 days, it sounds like a dream, right? But typically 3 to 4 is where you're going to get the best balance of recovery, and it's just most realistic for most people. So now the big thing with a full body workout is it means you also need a proper warm up, right? So with the other ones, we can warm up, like let's say you're doing your push day or even an upper day, right? Let's go with the upper and the full body. Those would be the 2 I'd recommend for almost everybody, almost all cases. An upper day, you just need to warm up the back and the shoulders, arms, chest, whatever, right? So you would do like a priming section that would, focus on stretching all of your upper body and then mobilizing it and then warming it up. With a full body, you just have to add in that leg component. So some type of explosive exercise to warm up the legs, because you don't want to go into, again, heavy front squat without having your legs have done anything. So big key things there would be for a full body day, hitting the shoulders, hips, knees, and lower back, like stretching everything around those areas to make sure that you're effectively warmed up. And so you want to do a lot of stretches there, mobilize the T-spine, make sure everything's opening up correctly, and then you're going to move into like a more intense, like, your high knees, cariokas, whatever, and then you move into a prime section where you're a little bit more explosive, focusing on, power and getting a sweat going, right? For an upper or a lower, you can focus more on the parts that you're just going to work for that day, which in the beginning might mean that it takes less time. But again, the big thing that I've experienced when I do this is I don't recover as well in the actual workout to be able to go as heavy as possible on each exercise. A good way to think of this would be just comparing, like, again, how much time you have. If you have a 2-hour span for some of the other stuff, maybe it works. But for me, because I've got an hour, what makes the most sense is, effective warm-up, and then being able to do my quad dominant leg movement, 3 to 4 sets, 3 times a week, split it up, because each time now I can go as heavy as possible, right? Whereas if I didn't have 2 hours, if I still only had that 1 hour, kind of have to rush through the front squats, kind of have to rush through the split squats, and I'm just not recovering the way I would need to in order to get the most out of each exercise. So my total weekly volume would actually be lower than what I'm doing with my full body. Then the other big thing there is making sure that it's realistic. Right? Setting unrealistic goals. I've seen people try to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go from, being, pretty severely overweight to, yeah, I want to lose 30 pounds in the next, 10 to 12 weeks. Is it possible? And do some people do it? 100%. Is it typically like a feasible or maintainable thing? Not all the time. I can't say that it's absolutely not, but it's pretty tough. So what I would recommend is trying to go about a pound of weight loss per week, maybe 2 pounds if that's 1% of your body weight. I wouldn't go above 2 pounds because a lot of people start to kind of feel that energy drop unless you're pretty severely overweight where you need to just get it off as fast as possible. And that's also the part of the realistic thing is how much energy do you have to dedicate to it per day. And again, factors into, okay, do I have enough energy for a 2-hour workout, or am I going to get an hour, or can I give 6 days a week of high effort? And just in my experience with working with probably close to 2,000 people at this point in the past 6 years, you're looking at most people like that 3-day, 2 to 3 days is the sweet spot, with some people really tolerating well at 4 to 5. But in my experience, the best results are coming in that like 2 to 4 day range. I hope this helped answer some of your questions about programming and why things are done that way. And I'll be going more in depth on how I develop a program and, the muscles that I want to work with each thing to maximize time and efficiency for a workout for both myself and my clients.